I can't hear you guys. Wait, your volume's gone. Am I supposed to be able to hear you? No? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Now you can hear us.
Okay. Okay.
We knew you couldn't hear us.
Hi, Nate.
Okay,
Larry, no, not Mike.
Yeah, so the live stream is Bremer went live, Bill is live. Let her know.
All right, there you go.
Abby,
What's up?
we're making it muted so that people don't have, they can't hear us joking before we start. What's up?
All right.
Muted. Okay, bye. We miss you.
All right. Bye.
No idea.
No. Did you share it?
No,
Okay.
I just,
Okay, wait, go back to it. What'd you do? No, it's not.
well, you had sent it.
That one, and then you go. And you hit, like, if I was you, I would copy this. Copy, and then I would go to Bott. Pages. Oh, you're in Bott, good. And then hit post. And then hit paste.
How did you go against today? I'm pretty good. Yeah.
And then hit next.
Yeah. Got some.
And then hit
stuff
publish.
About like what the conversation was, and then I got some stuff about nutrition.
So now it's right there, and I'm gonna edit that post.
Cool.
Hey, Bill, it says Bill Hamley posted it. I wish it said Bremer posted it.
Yeah.
Well, I need to say join us on Zoom here. Because it just says, join our Ask Me Anything, but I want people to pop on Zoom. So they can have their little face pop up and they're not just watching on Facebook.
Bolt, Zoom. No, nobody.
Oh,
Too many kid movies.
it already says, and maybe it's just us, but already says 3 people on Facebook.
All right, it's supposed to go like.
Probably 1, 2, 3 in Abbey.
You did that on Bremer's page? Did you
I
do?
did it on the live stream.
Okay.
I posted on the YouTube stream as well.
Mhm. Join us here to ask the question or comment below.
Yours is on its way, Nate.
Yours is in the comments.
Mhm.
Could you
Thanks.
fix the thing that Bill Hamley posted?
Actually, I'll have to show you once we're done with this. I'm designing the Bremer dive team
Nice.
shirt for you. Not the, I guess, A. And if you like it, then
Cool.
Oh, and then,
I
yeah.
don't think I can.
You can.
It doesn't have.
somebody just had today where, so like last year in October, we billed a leg out to a primary insurance who said, nope, you didn't have prior authorization, and we knew because they were, screwing around with the whole thing, and we're like, fine, he's got auto secondary. So we billed the auto, and I was like, nope, it's not our responsibility.
And live.
Hello, welcome to Ask Me Anything. I'm Brian,
I'm Cassie.
and we are here to answer your questions today. So any questions that you have, video in or put them in the comments and we will do our best to answer them. And Abby, do you want to introduce yourself?
I say, and I'm Abby. I'm joining from a different office, and I'm here to help out as well.
So to start today off, does anybody have any questions for us?
That's Robin.
Robin? Hi, is Robin there? Do you have a question for us?
Yes, I was wondering, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna get a microprocessor knee after about a year. And they're gonna let me try on different ones, and I know I don't really know them that well. I know there's like a C leg, that's all I know. So what do you feel is the best one? And I know they do different things. I mean, I'm not a super active person, but I want to be able to walk and hike and maybe go kayaking and, you know, stuff like that. So would you recommend one over another?
Yeah, so I mean, if you guys don't mind, I'll take this one. Bill, can we get it so they're popping up on camera? They're not popping up on camera.
Let her know.
We're just trying to get you up on the screen, Robin, sorry.
Okay.
There you go. Can you pop up now?
Nope.
You'll do it like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
There you go.
There we go. All right, which one's Robin? Hi, Robin, how are you?
Good, thank you.
So with the microprocessor knees, one of the biggest, limitations with that is going to be which insurance you have. There are a couple different categories of the microprocessor knees, some which certain insurances will cover, some that will not. But, if you're in the realm of like a C leg or, in that category, I'm assuming it's something that your insurance will cover if your prosthetist is pointing you in that direction. But everything is that we do, at least we customize to the person. So, but with, the activities that you're going to be doing or would like to be doing, you want to try to get something that's going to be water resistant. And, none of them are 100% waterproof other than it's called the X3. But there aren't a ton of insurances that pay for that. So, a lot of water activities, you might not necessarily want to use that knee in anyways. So a lot of times a good option, if your insurance will cover it, as well as if you can get what we call a water prosthesis, something that'll be a little bit more forgiving in those type environments. And it's going to be more probably of a mechanical knee or something like that. At least you don't have to worry about it getting wet.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Did that answer your question fully? I mean, it's kind of hard because, choosing that type of thing for somebody is, I'm not providing care for you, but it would be something that we would discuss all these things with to determine if whichever knee that is will be the right choice for you. It's just something that you'll want to go over with your prosthetist. But for outside the water, they all function well. And I don't know as if I have a favorite.
I hear a lot of people talking about the C leg. That kind of seems to be the go-to, maybe.
It's a very common one. Yeah. I mean, I'd say the C leg and Rio are probably the two most common in that realm of microprocessor knees. And both are very good. So.
Yeah, he talked to me about the Rio and I forgot what he had said. Something he said about it I didn't like. It's like, what was it? It's not as giving or something. Like if you stumble, it just kind of locks up on you.
Okay.
And to me, that seems like that would make me fall easier if I was going to fall. I mean, I don't know. I'm not walking, so I don't know.
Right. So each of those knees do offer what we call a stumble recovery mode. And, you know, locking up on that stumble isn't a bad thing. That's kind of what they're actually designed to do. So if you were to be swinging your foot through, catch your toe on the ground, and the knee can't get fully extended to catch you, what it's going to do is lock up so that once you put your foot down, it's not going to buckle underneath of you.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Paul, okay.
Hey, Paul, what was your question for us?
He might have disappeared. There he is.
Hey, Paul, did you have a question for us to answer?
Hello,
Hi.
I go to Bremer in Sagnasty. I'm wearing a test socket right now. I understand that I can pick what the final leg looks like. Just how far does that go?
Like the appearance of it? Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
like the
Yeah.
design that's actually on the leg?
Yeah, like you want like a cool design, like something you're interested in?
Well,
Or-
church, well, I belong to a church and it's gotta be related to my church.
Yeah.
So I
They-
understand it's gotta be on a t-shirt or a piece of cloth, correct?
yeah, yep, they can laminate it right in.
Yeah.
Have you seen examples of what it would look like?
Yeah, it just, I'm having difficulty of finding a way to get the design on that piece of cloth or the t-shirt. Saginaw doesn't have, that I've found yet, a place where I can go do that,
Okay.
where I can get that done. I'm running out of time because, you know, they're gonna want this test socket so they can do the leg. And
Yeah.
I'm not
What I
gonna
would
have a
suggest
design.
for you, Paul, is if you get either Scott or Casey, I know is in that office that does a lot of the laminations in there. If you have like a specific image that you want.
I showed them what I wanted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what they can do, or even maybe Abbey, because I know in Flint there's a place in the mall that can screen print shirts. And if you take your image in there, they'll screen print it for you. Put it right on a shirt, and then they can, what they'll do is then take that shirt and transfer it to you.
Okay. Well, I think they're gonna want the leg back Thursday, so I'm kind of out of time.
Now, I don't know if it's necessarily a specific image that you have in mind, but if it's just maybe like a general image or something that you think you might be able to find, usually what we recommend doing is going to Joann Fabrics or something like that and just browsing all the fabrics that they have. And those sometimes work the best anyway. So if you can find something that you like there, sometimes that's the best option.
Yeah. I'll find something. I don't want some plain leg,
It is. It's a fun way to make it yours and to make it unique. I always,
worked with you before.
you sure have.
I remember you.
Did you have any other questions, Paul?
No, I sure don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, Debbie. I saw that you joined us. Do you mind introducing yourself and seeing if you have any questions for us?
Yeah, do you hear me? Okay. I'm a left below the knee amputee as of December last year, so 8 months or so. Just got my leg last week. I want to know what is an ideal residual limb for the pin system. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Hello?
Abby, did you want to take this one or do you want us to answer?
Yeah, so it kind of, to start, you're saying to start out, that's what they started you in?
No, I think it's called a vacuum with a liner and a sleeve.
Okay. And so there's kind of three main different types of suspension that you have: the pin, where it has a locking mechanism, and then suction with the sleeve, and then vacuum where it actually has pump and creates like a negative pressure around your limb. And so a lot of it is working with your prosthetist to figure out what your limb shape is. And something that with the pin, making sure that things are going to be smooth and line up. And that's something that's really good kind of early on for an initial system, because we know that things are connected, unless like sometimes with a more bulbous limb shape, it can be a challenge to kind of get on. And there's a lot of different factors that can kind of play into suspension, and figuring out kind of what you're doing, what activities, working with your prosthetist. And as far as limb shape goes, kind of depends on like soft tissue and stuff too. And I don't know if Cassie or Ryan, if you guys have anything to add to that too.
Well, I guess I was just going to ask Debbie, so you started with a vacuum style suspension prosthesis and you're getting a pin style, is that correct?
Oh,
You're muted, sorry.
I don't even know if it's called a vacuum. I'm just trying to figure it out myself. I've got a liner that's got silicone, and I put my leg in, and it's the sleeve that rolls up and attaches to the silicone itself. Is that a vacuum?
Do you have your prosthesis right now?
I don't know where it is. I asked my husband. He put it away somewhere.
That's okay. So if you don't have a pin, you likely have two things. You either have a vacuum style suspension, which is what Abby was talking about. It'll create a negative pressure with an active pump on the outside of it that draws the air out. Or there's going to be a small one-way valve. And what that does is when you push your leg in, it pushes air out, and then you roll a sleeve up on the outside to suction inside of it.
There's also
my leg. I'm in a class where I want to see it. I don't know. We're looking for it. It doesn't have any kind of a pump or a hole or a button. It's just the liner with a sleeve, and they hold on by holding each other. Can you see this?
You have the liner in it.
Okay, so is that?
Can you show me the inside of it? Okay. Yeah, you most likely have what we call a suction style suspension. So there might be a little one-way valve somewhere on that that holds it onto your limb. Now, are you being fit for a new leg right now that are you wanting to get a pin system, or are they switching you to it?
No, she says my residual limb is still a little too bulbous, and it was something that I inquired about. I don't see anything but the silicone on the sleeve that holds on to the silicone on the liner. So.
Yeah. So if your leg is a little bulbous, then that's not ideal for the pin style suspension, because you're trying to push into the socket. And if you can imagine that that's shaped to your leg and it's smaller at the top of the socket, and then you're trying to fit the bottom of your leg, which is bigger than that hole, into it, it's not going to work real well. And so that's probably why they have you set up in the system that they do.
Yes, and I found it last week. So she said,
okay. I'd say the other thing.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Debbie.
I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry, I'm also a stroke victim. I forgot. I'm
You
sorry.
said you had just, no, you said you just got it last week.
Oh, yes, I did. Last Wednesday, and I see her tomorrow. See how it's going. So it's a new and exciting time. However, I raised the little girl I adopted who was a bilateral congenital AKBK, who is now 31. So I'm comfortable. When they told me we have to amputate, I said, okay. It was no big deal. I raised a girl on it. So now it's my turn.
Yep. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Looks like we have a couple new people that joined us. Lynn, I think you popped in first. Did you have a question for us?
No, I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you for having this.
Well, absolutely. Glad that you could join us. Then I guess it looks like maybe Jennifer, if Lynn doesn't have a question, did you have one for us?
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's okay. Glad you could join us.
How are you doing today?
We're doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Good.
So
Did you
are
have a
you
question for us?
like a question and answer type deal?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm having a lot of trouble with my new socket. In fact, I was just on the phone with the people that make mine because they just made it. I've probably had it 3 weeks or so, but it's rubbing my shin bones so bad. Like, and I went in like last week and they made some adjustments to it, but then it's still like I can't wear it because it makes my knee bruised and it makes my shin bone bruised, and even the inner aspect of my sorry.
You're okay.
Oh, she just popped off. Brian and Cassie and Abby, can you hear me?
Yep.
I don't know. Abby, you might remember, but Jennifer has joined us the past few months and she was really excited about this new leg. She had a new prosthetist make this socket. But I'm kind of sad to hear it's all bruised and stuff because she was seeing someone new that she was really excited about because her last one wasn't going well at all.
Right. Yep, it is unfortunate. Hopefully she can jump back on with us,
Yeah.
but obviously
Yeah.
a bruised leg and getting sores isn't ideal. So hopefully she can get back in to see her prosthetist. I think Brianna, you said she's out of state, right?
Yeah, she's in Oklahoma or, oh wait,
She's back.
Oh,
All
you're
right.
muted, Jennifer.
You're muted, Jennifer.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I don't know what happened, but anyway, I was just saying that it hurts, like the inner aspect, that dog ear that they call it, right there, and then on my shin bone and my knee. And it's so painful I can't wear it.
Do they have you in like a plastic clear test socket right now?
No, they did at first, and then they made the real one, the permanent one, and when I wear it, like, so first of all, when I first put my leg down into it, I can tell like it starts just rubbing my shin bone, and I just try to keep pushing it down in there and pushing it down in there, and then finally I get it on and I think, okay, maybe I can wear it. Maybe it'll be okay. And then as the day goes on, it gets so painful that I can barely walk. And so then I'm like, I can't do it anymore. So I take it off and put my old one on.
And did it do this the whole time, or did this just start happening once you got the final?
Once I got the final, and then I took the final one back up there, and they made some type of adjustment to it, and I told him it was still hurting, but he said, well, just try it and see how it does. And I said, okay. And so then I tried to wear it, and it just was too painful. I just couldn't do it.
I mean, what I would suggest is to keep on them. I mean, that's our job to make it comfortable for you. So, you know, it doesn't sound like it was necessarily hurting you in the clear test socket phase. Is that right?
Right.
Just kind of seems like it all of a sudden in the final design. Yeah. You know, I just, you know, like I said, that's our job to make that comfortable for you. So if you're having trouble with the fit, you know, keep your prosthetist accountable and have them continue to adjust it until it's comfortable for you, and or have, you know, if it needs to be remade, that's our job. So it shouldn't be hurting you to put on or to be standing on or to get around and walk. I mean, everybody's body is different, but the reason why this is a custom field is because not everybody's leg is the same, and that's our job to make a custom fit to you. So if it's hurting, you know, keep on them and keep going in to try to get it fit and adjusted.
Okay, and then I wanted to ask you one more thing.
Yep.
I saw I think it was on Facebook, I'm pretty sure, on one of my amputee groups on there was somebody that posted this little like rubber thing. I don't know what it's made out of, but it looked rubber like, and it's like almost like a cup. And
Yep.
she said that she was having problems with her shin hurting and her stump hurting down there. So she bought that. I think she said off of Amazon, I think. But anyway, she said that she just fits that over the bottom of her stump, and it helps to pad that, I guess.
So my question for you would be, are you getting pain though at the very bottom of your limb or along the front of the bone?
Like along, well, kind of both, like the inner aspect of the bottom, like where that dog ear is right there, and then the front part of my shin.
Okay. Because so what you're talking about, we call that a distal cushion or a gel cup. Either term is okay. And sometimes they go on the inside of your liner. Sometimes you can fit it into the socket itself. And sometimes it helps. Usually it helps more if we plan on using one of those and fit it into the original design, because what could happen, and I'm not saying it's the wrong solution, but I would run it by your prosthetist, because they may have some in the office instead of you paying out of pocket to order one off of Amazon. And that way you can try it to see if it works. But a lot of times what that's going to do is lift you up in the socket a little bit. And if that wasn't planned for in the original design, if you can imagine all of the anatomy of your limb, there's a lot of bones down there. So if you're shifting up now in the socket, rather than where you're supposed to be, you could run into other problems.
Okay.
So if I would ask your prosthetist about it, sometimes it's a good option, but see if he has one instead of paying for one yourself, and just try it before to see if it works.
And you know, in this new leg that they made me, the valve, you know, that lets the air out, you know, in my old one, it was on like the side of my socket. But this new one that they made me, it's on the bottom, like where the hardware is attached down there. So I thought about that, and I thought, well, if I have that on, is the air going to be able to escape? You know what I'm saying? Like,
usually we punch a little hole in that so that the air can still get out. So that's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, I would you know, hold your prosthetist accountable for that and have them hopefully have one of those for you to try. And what he should do or she should do is punch a hole in that so that the valve or the suction hole lines up with the hole they put in that gel cup.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you have any other questions?
No, not right now. I was going to listen to everybody else's questions and then I might come up with something else.
Well, sorry that your prosthesis is bothering you. Hopefully they can get it figured out and then hopefully you can let us know that it's going better next time.
I have a question for you.
For
Did
me?
you did you get to use your swimming foot?
I did, but only in like a kiddie pool because I waited so long. Like I've been having so many problems getting that final leg. And so what they did was they put the swimming foot on my old leg. And that way I could use this while they were making that. And it's just been crazy. You just wouldn't believe. But I'm hoping that I'm going to get to join some water aerobics classes. So I'm anxious to use it for that.
Yeah. And did you get to do any, I know you said that this summer you're going to try to use like the workouts on the website and stuff, even without your prosthesis. Have you been trying to work out still or?
I actually have been going to a gym every day and working out at a gym every morning. And so I've been doing that every day. And I haven't really done any workouts online, but I've just been doing them in the gym.
Hey, that's even better.
Yes, I've really been having a good time doing that.
Okay. That's good. I'm happy to hear
Thank you all
that.
so much for helping me with that foot too. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Anything to get you more active. That's the goal and you're doing it. So
I'm trying.
that's cool. Lynn, I know you said you didn't have any questions, but can we learn a little bit about you?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I actually, I put the notice out. I came on before earlier and then I put the notice out, you know, to let everybody know that the meeting was starting. But my name is Lynn DeCola and I've been an amputee for 29 years. And I'm also a prosthetist and orthotist. So it's, so for my actual, when I had my motorcycle accident, I'm an above the knee amputee. And I went to return to work and my prosthetist actually got me involved. So I've been in prosthetics ever since then because my job didn't take me back. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I started my group, Lynn's Amputee Chat Room. I started that in January because of all the problems. I was on the support groups and amputees have the same problems and it's usually the socket. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I just want to advocate for them and I do everything free, offering second opinions and then send them back to their prosthetist. That's why I'm enjoying this today because you're doing the same thing. You know, taking amputees, listening to their problems and offering advice and sending them back to their prosthetist. And that's why I have a company called Lifelong Prosthetics because we should be lifelong relationships with the prosthetist and the amputee. So, but thank you for offering me to introduce myself.
You hit the nail on the head, Lynn. I mean, nobody's leg is growing back, right? So I mean, that's something that go ahead.
Are you Bill? Is that because I can't read it? Are you Bill? Is that your name underneath?
No, Bill's just a guy helping us set up the video. I'm Brian and this is Cassie.
Okay, hi. I just want to say thank you also because you said you hit the nail on the head. All of us are different, all of our residual limbs, and yet we get treated the same. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm very appreciative just sitting back here and listening. So, you know.
Yeah. That's one thing that we like to tell all of our patients, you know, your leg or arm, it's not growing back. And like you said, this is a lifelong relationship. I mean, you're going to see a lot of times your prosthetist more than you see your primary care doctor or your dentist, or, because a leg, for example, I mean, you have to walk on that every single day. And if your socket doesn't fit, you're not going to walk on it, or you're going to be in pain and develop wounds and things like that. And so if you develop a problem, then you need to go see your prosthetist. And it's not, when or if, it's not if, it's when you are going to have a problem. And that's our job to fix it. That's what we're here for. So.
Right.
And being able to have that strong relationship with your prosthetist too, that you feel like they're listening to you, you feel like they're addressing your problems, so you can go to them and say, hey, I'm having these issues, that they're continuing to try things to change it and fix the problem and make sure they're getting a good fit to help you doing what you love to do and keep you up and moving and being able to advocate for yourself. And that relationship is so, so important.
Yeah. Lynn, where's your company at?
Well, I'm in the Tampa, Florida area.
Okay.
But like I said, my company is just for, it's actually to offer second opinions for amputees, which is free. But then I also offer consulting for prosthetic companies, physical therapists, because physical therapists, a lot of them, they are awesome when we're post-op, but once they don't understand how to identify prosthetic problems. So that's where I try to be the mediator, so that the amputee can go back and get adjustments as necessary, because sometimes we're discharged prematurely because we don't reach our goals, but it's a prosthetic problem, not our problem as an amputee. So I'm very passionate because I've been through everything. Like I said, losing my leg, but then losing my job, it's very personal. And I'm coming up, next year will be 30 years. I'll be an amputee 30 years and I'll be 60 years old. So it's a big ampuversary and birthday. So,
That's
but
awesome.
I just want to improve outcomes. If somebody chooses to wear a prosthesis, because some people, they don't wear a prosthesis, not because they don't choose to, it's just either painful or feels like an anchor, so I appreciate being here and being part of this group. Thank
Well,
you.
good. We're glad to have you.
Thanks for joining us.
Awesome what you do. Keep it up. I think Debbie, do you have your hand up for a question?
Wanted to talk about the skincare part. I've seen two products advertised. One's called the Limb Wand, I think, and the other one is developed or is sponsored by Cozy Talks.
What was it?
The other one is sponsored by Cozy Talks, who is another amputee. I think she's an occupational or physical therapist.
Physical therapist with 19 years of background specializing with amputees.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm using what my prosthetist suggested, which was just a very mild soap. But there seems to be so much more. Like there's Footless Joe is on YouTube, and she uses like a silicone that she rubs on her tender spots. And then there's one called something that goes on wet and turns dry. Anyway, I just need to know, where do I put my money?
Yeah. I will just start because I do Bremer's marketing, and I market from the heart because my dad is an amputee who is a prosthetic. So I really the whole point of doing our marketing is to bring people together and change the field. But a lot of people, once they get big enough on YouTube, they get paid to tell you which products to use. So I can't say that what they recommend is the best if other prosthetists aren't hearing about it, but I will let Abby, Brian, and even Lynn and Cassie talk about what they'd recommend for hygiene and skincare. But whenever people are online, always take it with a grain of salt that they are getting paid to tell you that their product is the best product. But every body is different. So every body needs something a little different. But hygiene is pretty straightforward. You don't need to spend a lot on hygiene or skincare, generally speaking.
Yeah, we do like supply our patients with like a silicone lotion. And it just depends on the patient. Like you will have to just try the different things and see what works best for you. But we do supply that silicone lotion, and then we have a certain dry, which is like kind of like a deodorant, which is supposed to just keep the limb from sweating. And that tends to work for some people really well, and other people it doesn't work at all. So it's just really, I mean, you kind of gotta see what you like. Like it's a personal thing. Everybody is completely different. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and to touch on that a little bit too, Debbie and Lynn and Abby, you can jump in too. But a lot of times we just tell people, hand soap and water is one of the best things to wash your limb with. We usually suggest an unscented hand soap. Sometimes the scents have different chemicals and stuff that once you trap it in the silicone liner environment, it's not the best. But it's like Brianna was saying and Cassie, the hygiene is pretty straightforward. If you just keep it clean with even just soap and water, you should be good. But the other important part of that is to make sure that you're keeping your liner clean. So if you clean your residual limb and it's great, but then you haven't washed your liner in a month and a half and you're putting that on again, it's still, or a week even, I'm exaggerating with the month and a half, but if you're not cleaning your liner, then you're trapping the exact same environment on your residual limb every time that you put that on. So it's important to clean both. And hand soap and water work great for both, the liner included. Hand soap and water, wash it out, let it air dry or just pat it dry with a paper towel. And then usually what we suggest too is maybe about once a week doing rubbing alcohol just to make sure that it's clean and sterile. Now, we don't recommend the alcohol more often than that necessarily because it can break down the silicone, but that every so often to hit that with just a little bit stronger product to make sure you're killing bacteria and other things so that you're not trapping that against your residual limb.
Oops, are you there?
Yep.
Thank you. I think like a Dr. Bonner's Castile soap, baby unscented would be perfect, right? You think?
Probably. Yeah. The unscented part is the important thing. Like we said, just because there's chemicals that they use to create the scent, obviously. And so you don't want all of those things trapped in that environment. But yeah, just a typical unscented hand soap should be fine.
So you mentioned, Cassie, the certain dry. So where would I go to get something like that?
You can probably ask your prosthetist because I know a lot of prosthetic places keep it there, or at least a sample so you can try it, and then they may be able to just order it for you. Yeah.
It's also available at a typical grocery store. It's going to be in the deodorant section. You may not find it at every grocery store or supermarket, but it's going to be in the deodorant antiperspirant section because it is an antiperspirant. So the whole goal of it is to help kind of close up the sweat glands so that they don't continue to sweat.
I got mine at Walmart.
Oh,
yep.
So one real quick last question, I hope. Swim fin, if I want to get in the water again, is that an extra charge usually that or does my prosthetist have to get a prescription or give a prescription, get an approval, blah, 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 and the whole line?
It depends. Some of it is going to rely on your insurance. If you have insurance that will cover a secondary prosthesis that you can devote to water, we don't necessarily specify swimming alone because if you do water, you can use it in the shower, you can use it in the lake, you can go to the water park, you can go to the beach, whatever. If your insurance doesn't, I'd still bring it up to your prosthetist because there's things that we can do to your primary prosthesis to make it usable in the water. There's metal components on your prosthesis, so the biggest concern is rust with a lot of that stuff, but we can swap it out for other stainless steel products that won't rust or corrode. So it's just something that you'll have to discuss with your prosthetist and see exactly which route is going to be best for you, whether it's insurance and a second prosthesis, or, sometimes we will utilize that clear plastic test socket, and sometimes prep that for somebody so that they can use it in the water.
And you don't, Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't even always need a prosthesis to sit at the edge of a pool and like sit on the step of a pool if you haven't done that yet.
Yep. Yeah, the prosthesis isn't always necessary. Sometimes, honestly, I'm not an amputee myself, but sometimes I would imagine that having a prosthesis on while I'm trying to swim might actually be a little cumbersome. But again, I'm not an amputee, so I can't say that specifically. But you don't start out in the water, right? You have to get from your car to, the water slide or the beach or whatever, and so you still have to walk there. You're muted, Debbie. Sorry.
I'll talk with my prosthetist and see what she says. But I was thinking more like swim fin.
Oh, okay.
I used to do water aerobics, and it was really beneficial for my diabetes.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. Ashley, I see you joined us. You are muted, but if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them for you.
Hi, thank you. I do have one question, and I don't know if you guys could have addressed it already or not. About your opinion on and I could be calling it the wrong type of prosthetic, but the vacuum seal, I guess is what you would call it, prosthesis for a below knee.
Yep. Yeah, it's an elevated vacuum style suspension. Yep.
Yeah, that's it. That's what he called it, vacuum suspension. Because I am currently working with a pin socket, but they're trying to get me something with, I guess you could say, a more intimate fit, because I'm technically, I guess you could say, not below knee. I am at the actual knee, and we're having trouble getting something that is comfortable and light enough for me to be able to just go and do.
Yep. I don't know if I caught the question.
Do you think that would be more beneficial, the vacuum suspension system versus the pin?
Abby or Cassie, want to take a swing at it?
Abby, do you want to answer the question?
Sure. I'd say it kind of comes down to what activity. So have you been having issues with the pin system?
Well, the type of prosthetic that they initially tried me on, they had upper corset on my thigh.
Yep.
Because I had a unique situation with a lot of nerve damage. So I had no muscle control or able to build any muscle, I guess you could say, above the knee. So they had me such an unnecessarily heavy prosthetic at first. So we've been gradually trying to get something that was lighter. So the current prosthetic that I have now, it is giving me a lot of issues with skin breakdown and balance.
And so do you feel like you're moving kind of up and down in the socket a lot, or just...
Yes.
Okay.
The air pocket.
Okay. And then in terms of, I guess, your limb shape, so you're through the knee, correct?
I have nothing below the knee.
Okay. And then I guess in the way, so the way that the femur is shaped and what can happen with a lot of kind of knee dysartic amputees, is that the femur kind of comes down, then you have these condyles at the side, which are a little bit more bulbous and have a little bit more shape to them. And so we can kind of suspend things above there, which it sounds like that's what they're doing with the joint and corset, that it kind of hugs up above those condyles, right? So like kind of the bony ends of the limb. Or do you feel like your limb's a little bit more fleshy?
No, definitely not. It's very bony.
Very thin, bony, not
Yeah.
a lot of muscle tissue.
Mm-mm.
But you're still kind of with the joint and corset getting a lot of like movement, and it's just, can you tolerate pressure across your limb?
Well, when we had the issue with the joint and corset period is I wasn't able to fully extend the knee the way they had it set. It's almost like the way I was sitting in the socket. It wasn't almost like it wasn't, they didn't have it like deep enough. I don't know how to explain it. I wasn't able to extend. It was, I don't know, it was very uncomfortable. That I'm currently in a test socket now, and that is a pin socket, but I don't know. It's new. All this is new for, I guess, with any amputee. I mean, you get the continuous question, well, is it comfortable? How does it feel? Well, you don't know. I mean, you don't, how do you answer that really? But it's all around. It's uncomfortable because of the pressure points. That's the biggest problem I'm having, is the continuous skin breakdown and the pressure points, and across the actual area just proximal to the kneecap. It's constant pressure.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, Ashley, I have a couple questions for you. So you said that you don't have anything below your femur. So, you know, like Abby called it a knee disarticulation. So do you have what she was talking about, the bulbous end of your femur? Like it's a little bit bigger at the bottom? That's what I mean.
She still has her.
But I guess my other question to maybe help clarify that is, can you bend and extend your knee?
Yes.
Okay, so you do have something below your femur. So you do have part of your tibia, but it's really, really short, I think is what you're getting at, right? Okay.
Yes.
Which is why that they also fit you with that joint and corset style socket, right? Okay. So yeah, that, I mean, and I can't see it, don't know what it looks like, but I'm assuming it's very short, and that's probably some of your biggest issues. Having a really, really short tibia, what we would call, so you're still below the knee, but it's right at the knee. It's a tough fit. I mean, there's no getting around that. So, you know, the vacuum style suspension, it may be good for you. The pin style, with as short as you are, you probably could do a little bit better. Now, again, without actually seeing you and being able to look at it myself, I can't say for certain, but just, so is it a lot of just skin breakdown, movement, and just uncomfortable?
Yes, friction.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vacuum would hopefully reduce any friction in the socket and just kind of like make your leg bear weight throughout the entire surface of it. So it might work really well for you. I would definitely recommend trying it.
I hope so.
And you currently have a pin system, you said, right?
Yes.
And so are you in the process right now of being fit for vacuum, or it's something that you've discussed and I haven't quite done yet?
Well, we just sent office notes off to the insurance. So I haven't been casted for the liner that is required for the vacuum suspension system yet. We're waiting to see what insurance will say about that. But went ahead and did the proactive measure and kind of formulated the notes in the fashion as if we were going to do, I guess you could say, an appeal towards the insurance. So we could just go ahead and get ahead of that. So we didn't have to play around with that mess. because I know how they are.
Yep. Insurance companies are fun. We all love dealing with them.
Yeah, they're just fantastic.
Well, yeah, so I mean, it sounds like you guys are on the right track. And I mean, I guess if you don't mind, we'd like to kind of hear from you and when you kind of get rolling with this to see how it's going for you. And if there's anything that we can help with in the future, we'd be more than happy to.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And Ashley, I have a question real quick too. How, if you want to answer, how old are you and was your amputation traumatic?
I am 37 and it wasn't from an accident or anything of that nature. What led to my amputation, this is probably going to blow y'all's mind. And I shared it, I think once before when I came, it's been a long time ago to this presentation, was a bunion removal.
Oh, you did share. Aw, yeah.
So if you have a bunion, you might want to keep that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how you said it's just super short and you sounded really young. And yeah, now that you're mentioning it, I remember you because you did show your video last time. And you know, I'm not even a prosthetist, so it's like my professional opinion is not very relevant. But I just wondered if, you know, even if above knee would be potentially, you know, more, make it so if you do want to run again or get very active or weightlifting, if that's anything you'd ever consider too, because I could imagine that there's a lot of nerve endings and bones in your knee too, that, you know, if the vacuum isn't helping, that would be kind of, I don't want you to live in pain.
Oh, right. Well, we've actually discussed it because I want to be able to have that control because it is frustrating because it seems like no matter how much physical therapy I do, there's no muscle forming at all. And it's very disheartening. No matter how hard you try, it's like nothing happens and it's so irritating.
Yeah, we have a patient who I got to talk to yesterday who he had the muscle and nerve innervation. And it was really cool because his residual limb is bigger than it was last year. So he's getting a new socket because his residual limb is growing muscle. And you know how rare that is. So I was saying, you know, that's really neat. And he didn't know that was rare. He was just like, what? Everyone doesn't grow muscle when they start wearing their prosthesis? And I'm like, no, you know, that's a pretty neat thing. And Nate said there's only a handful in the country, a handful of surgeons that will and know how to do that. So even that, maybe if the problem is muscle, maybe a nerve innervation would be a good route instead of, you know, an above the knee. But I mean, who wants to go back to surgery? But like you said, you know, you're 37. So anything, you know, you deserve to be active. You deserve to be as active as you want to be and not be held back.
And you got a long life to live with that prosthesis too. So you want to get it fit, get it comfortable and be able to get the most out of it that you can.
Right. And I have 2 little boys to keep up with. They play baseball and I want to be able to, you know, go and cheer with the other moms, like, you know.
Yep, absolutely. Well, if there's anything that we can help with in the future, Ashley, just let us know.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Where are you located? Which city and state, if you want to share?
Waycross, Georgia.
Okay, Georgia. Okay, yeah, cool. So even then, if I don't know, Nate might know surgeons in Georgia who he could see if he could connect you with. But yeah, definitely would be worth it for one in Michigan if you had to.
Yeah, my husband's actually originally from Michigan.
Oh, cool. What part?
Ann Arbor area.
Oh, sweet. That's where one of them is. Yeah, one of the surgeons at U of M in Ann Arbor. That's cool.
Yep. Oh, wow.
And we're right up the road in Brighton.
Yeah.
Tell them originally South Line.
South Line is where he actually lived.
Okay. Even closer. We're in Brighton and I live in Howell and Cassie lives in Fenton. So you know the area.
Abby lives in Fenton.
Abby's in Fenton too, yeah. Well, if you guys are in town and need help with anything, feel free to stop in.
Awesome, thanks.
Debbie and her hand up, and then I have 2 questions from online.
Debbie, did you have a question?
As I said, my daughter is a congenital bilateral AK, BK, but her AK is through the knee. And I talked to her today, and she doesn't usually have physical issues with her prosthesis, but she says the end of her limb is purple, and if she put a safety pin into the end of it, she wouldn't be able to feel it. Poked a pin in it. And all I said was, well, what did our prosthetist say? And it was pretty vague, but I told her, you just elevate it and stay off of it. And she said it hurts when she walks, and yet it's numb. So I'm concerned for her.
Yeah, that may even be a question to go above the prosthetist's head. You know, sometimes that can turn into a vascular and circulation issue. So that may be something that, if she's still having it, at least that may be something that you want to discuss with your doctor.
I will suggest that, thanks.
And also, if she hasn't gone in to see her prosthetist, just to make sure that there is a good socket fit, that she's getting all the way down in there and not having any issues, that if there's kind of a void at the bottom of the socket, it can kind of create an air pocket, and that limb can turn a little bit purple.
Yeah, she said she's gained a couple of pounds, and I know that's an issue. And she did send pictures to Kimmy, the prosthetist, and they talked on the phone. So I'm sure she's being well taken care of, because Kimmy's my prosthetist. But I'm just worried because I have vascular issues. So I'm a little hypersensitive towards all that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, like Abby said, it can be an issue stemming directly from socket fit, but if the socket fit appears to be good, then it may be something that you want to discuss with the doctor.
And Lynn, you looked like you had something to say. So if you have any advice too, you're just as welcome to share. If you guys can help each other out with anything you've experienced, please feel free to say whatever is on your heart too.
Well, no, Debbie, I was just going to say with your daughter being congenital, she's going to go through a lot of changes. There's a lot of feedback. Does anybody else hear the feedback? Oh. Yeah, so Debbie, I was just saying that your daughter is going to go through a lot of changes, throughout her life, as she gets older. And definitely, gaining weight is going to change the fit of the socket. So, that's just something. But like you said, she's in great hands. You both seem like you have great communication with your prosthetist. So that's a plus. That's a plus, because you need to have, open communication and be able to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. It's a relationship, like I was saying before. It's a relationship for as long as you want to wear a prosthesis. So.
Thank you, Lynn.
Of course.
And Brianna, I think you said we had a couple questions, or Bill said we had a couple questions in the chat.
Yeah, we have Mary Covey asked, is it considered inappropriate to get a second opinion on your prosthetic?
Absolutely not.
You are your best advocate. Like, going and finding someone that you can talk to and getting an opinion, like, this is your life, this is your mobility. Finding somebody that you can trust and build a relationship with, absolutely get a second opinion. Like, you, at the end of the day, need to advocate for yourself and find somebody that's going to fight for you and work with you and help you achieve your goals. And as we have all kind of reiterated, that relationship is so, so important. And so being able to find somebody that you can trust and work with you, absolutely.
I'm just going to interject here, because if you don't get a second opinion and you don't get a correct fit and it hurts, you're not going to wear it. And with that, you're going to overuse your other leg, and you're going to overuse your upper extremities, whatever you need to use for a walker or to push your wheelchair. So anything else, if you cannot wear a prosthesis, you end up overusing the rest of your body and you start coming down with other, we call them just other medical conditions. You know, you start gaining weight of one of the things, diabetes, heart failure. I can list them off because I'm just writing a PowerPoint on it. So.
Yeah.
But it
Lynn's
is
got a
the-
few overuse injuries on your other side just from compensating and using that without having the prosthesis. So absolutely, if you feel like you need or should have a second opinion, by all means, go get one. I can't tell you how many times we will get a new patient that is somewhere that's well known or they're supposed to be the best, and they come in and don't realize that there can be a, you know, I'll even say a family atmosphere at our offices, because we build that relationship with people and treat people like they're not numbers. You know, everybody is a person and they need individual care, and that's what we provide. And we get tons of people that come in for second opinions and are so happy they never leave. So if you think you need one, go get one.
Cool. And then we have Marianne Thompson asks, how can I get my liners to keep from slipping up and down every step?
Oh. It sounds like either she is sweating or I'd like a little more feedback from her, but if your liners are fitting appropriately, they really shouldn't slip up and down. But yeah, she's talking about the liner, not like the sleeve on the outside of the leg. So yeah, I would see if maybe you've shrunk in size or lost weight or anything like that, and then get remeasured for new liners. That would probably be the best advice.
A lot of times your liners can wear out and get stretched. And like Cassie said, if you've lost volume and that liner's not fitting you appropriately, and or you're sweating a lot, a lot of times that can move up and down on you. So get it checked out by your prosthetist, make sure it's the right size, and then just go from there to make sure it's not another issue.
Yeah.
Is that it? Because it looks like Jennifer might have joined us.
Hi, Jennifer. Oh, you're muted. There we go.
Did I fix it?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. I've got a question. I know I come see you in the next couple of days, but I just seen my doctor. It's not the doctor that did the surgery, but he scared me really bad the other day and told me that if we can't get this figured out with the bone in the front that keeps smashing into the prosthesis, that they might have to do another surgery and remove more of my leg.
No, so that's, I understand where you would be scared and frustrated, because the last thing we ever want anybody to do is to cut into you more. So trying to keep the limb as long as possible and doing that. And that's why kind of going through this whole test socket fitting process of being able to create a nice relief for the end of that bone to make sure that it's not rubbing and grinding and causing any skin breakdown, and just trying to refine the fit through that to make sure that it does have enough relief around there. So that is absolutely a worst case scenario, that if there's something that you'd have to have a heck of a lot of issues to want to cut higher than where your amputation currently is right now.
Right. And that's why when he first said it, he, said they could go a little above where it's at now, but it wouldn't give me very much to hold on to. So he thinks that it would have to be an above the knee. And I just kind of sat there stunned, because it is a new doctor. It's not the same one that did the surgery. It's the same office. But when he asked me who did my surgery and I told him, he kind of, like, I'm not going to say rolled his eyes, but more or less was like, no wonder you're having issues. So that I was terrified when he said that. I couldn't I couldn't really think of any other questions to ask him, and tears just streaming down my face when we went out to the truck.
Yeah, no, so, and that's, and just to kind of fill everyone else in here too. So Jennifer and I have been working together. She was a new patient. Do you mind if I share a little?
No, go ahead.
So she's a new patient that came in and had a socket from somewhere else, has a very prominent anterior distal end of her tibia, so the end of the bone at her shin. And we've just been kind of going through that of trying to create a nice pocket relief at the bottom of the socket there, because that's been a big area of concern in the past, to the point where she has really had difficulties kind of getting around or even putting a prosthesis on. So we started the test socket fitting process, and I know it's been a little bit since I've seen you.
Yeah, it has. I missed last Monday completely. We both thought the appointment was for Wednesday. So
but
that was both of our fault.
No, you're good. But yeah, that is always a worst case scenario of you want to exhaust all options before going to a higher level of amputation, especially if it goes from being below the knee to above the knee. And we will do absolutely everything to make sure that that is not the case.
Right. Well, that's when he said that, like I said, I sat there stunned. My husband sat there kind of slack jawed. He said, if we can't get it figured out with you, because I told him, I love the people that I'm going to now. I was not real happy where they sent me to first. And he said if it would have been him, he'd have sent me down to the U of M, which, that's a long drive for somebody that's on disability.
Right.
And I would have to go down there at least 2 or 3 times, and an hour each way for me is crazy.
And I mean, just adjustments too over time, that you want to have a good relationship with your prosthetist, because it's not, hey, here's your leg and we'll see you in a few years when you need a new one. It's an ongoing thing of your body's going to continue to change and fluctuate, and making sure that you come in for adjustments, and when things are bothering you, to continue to work through problems and get the most out of that socket and keep a good fit to reduce any risk of skin breakdown or bony irritation. And I know that that's been a very kind of sensitive area.
All right. Well, thank you. I definitely, I like your guys' shop. I love you. You listen. I figured I would, that's kind of personal information, but that's what you guys do. And I figured if anything, I would get the help, I don't know how I want to word it, but oh geez. The response that I need,
The reassurance.
I hate coming. Thank you. That's one of
You're
them. But
welcome.
yeah, I could not come up with that for nothing.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
But yeah, I'm sorry
just,
that
I was so frustrated when he said that I wanted to call you that day and be like, hey, listen, this is what he's telling me now. And I couldn't even do that. I just felt kind of lost that day.
And absolutely, give me a call. I'm happy to ever answer any questions like that. Getting that news can absolutely send you into a spiral and then make you question kind of what's going on. And I know that there has been pain, but we haven't had any skin breakdown. So there's no wounds, nothing developing. It's just trying to make sure that, okay, we can relieve that and make a nice little pocket so there's no pressure there. But absolutely, if anything comes up like that and you want to talk through it, give me a call. I always have time for that. Just to give a little peace of mind, because that's a big piece of news to drop on someone.
Yes, especially considering that's not my regular doctor. That was only the second time I'd ever seen him. So I went from, not caring for the doctor at all that did my surgery because he has no bedside manner at all, to, speaking to somebody else in his office. And the second time I see him to get that kind of news.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely something that would be avoided at all costs.
Okay, well, I thank you for the reassurance on that, because I am still having issues with it. It is not nearly as bad as it was before, but if I walk on it for any length of time, which I can't because of my back, so it's I sit and then I get up to go to the bathroom, or I help with dinner and do dishes and walk up the ramp from coming and going somewheres, and just baby steps. But by the end of the night, when I go to take it off, the first thing it does is like one solid throb once it releases from that. And I'm having issues with the button on mine sticking.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we'll keep working through all of that and make sure that it's easy to take off and on. And sometimes those buttons, if stuff gets in there, it can get jammed up a little bit.
Yeah, I just, with the belly, it's a really hard for me to reach down there. So, my husband more times than not will take it off in the living room, and then I bring it to the bedroom, or I'm in the bedroom with my hairbrush thwacking the button to get it to pop loose and trying to pull my leg back at the same time. And I'm like, you know what? This is just difficult.
Yeah. So we'll take a look at all that.
Okay. Can I ask though, I've talked to you about my interest in swimming, and I've been in the water. I am still terrified to float.
Jennifer,
I don't know about being able to get my balance back.
Float just in terms of like on your back, just kind of like hanging around.
Yeah, lifting my feet off the ground.
And
because I'm terrified I won't be able to get my foot back underneath of me.
Oh, to stand back up.
Yeah, how? I mean, I'm out chest deep, then it doesn't bother me. It's when I'm coming in and I'm getting, of course, lower to the ground, and I've got to stand. If I don't have anybody to help me stand up, I can't do it. I have to be at least chest deep to stand back up to be able to get my balance. How is that just something I got to practice with?
And because and it's going to be a lot of like the sand. It's going to be a little bit different that the sand's going to give. You have the water moving around, and working on building one on land, right? So getting used to having your balance on land, and then figuring out where everything is in the water too, because now you have all of these other factors that are causing more motion, more movement, and kind of moving you around a little bit, of being able to get your balance and steady yourself, and you don't have anything to hold on to. So
it was definitely different when we went to Seven Lakes and I went in the water there. I went down off of a corner, so I didn't have to touch much of the sand. But when we went up in Tawas, I had to walk across the beach, and I had to have help on both sides because my prosthetic was sinking on each step that I would take. And I'm not that coordinated to begin with. So if I'd have had to do that by myself, I don't think I'd have been able to. I'd had to walk down the edge of the pier and scooch over the side.
And sand is one of the hardest things to walk through, just because it's so unpredictable and there's so much movement in how the ground moves. But there are kind of a couple different exercises too, that we can go through that will help you kind of respond more to your environment and how to control the prosthesis in order to work on improving that balance and stability with it too.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because it was definitely, I would one leg would be, perfect in the sand. And then the next step I would sink and I would tip to the right. And I'm like, if I had not had help, I would not have been able to get to and from the water. And that beach is not huge, but it's not a super small one. And then going into the Great Lake was a lot different than going into an inland lake because more movement and the ripples on the ground and just standing still, you sink more. So, and I know all that just from growing up around water, but now doing it with one leg is so much more awkward.
Right. And then not being able to feel that foot and where that's at in terms of like, I know I'll go to get in my kayak and my foot will sink down into the dirt and I go to step in and next thing I know, my foot's jammed up in the mud and I tip over and fall in the water.
And we want to go tubing and I'm scared to death that, I can get in it, but if we have to stop for anything, it's mucky. Like you just said, getting in and out is mucky. And I wouldn't want that kind of pull on my foot.
Yeah. So there's so many things that we can control. And then some of those environmental things, like where you're going to sink down into the water and stuff. The best thing that I can do is help give you the tools to respond to that little bit of imbalance in order to control your prosthesis and get used to responding to that. So we'll work through some of that. Just to kind of help of more responding to the environment instead of, oh my gosh, I'm being jolted this way and falling over one way. It's okay, like I'm being tossed this way. I got to push back against it to stabilize myself.
Yep. And that's my biggest fear is falling because I know that I cannot get it, especially if I've got the leg on. I could not get up by myself. I can't bend it there. So I've got no way to step on it, I guess, step up to it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because I'm a big lady or what it is, but I definitely don't feel like that's something that I would be able to do myself.
So, and yeah, we'll work on things, but being able to kind of have the balance and confidence to get around on land in like a predictable environment where you can see what's going on is going to start translating to, okay, now in the water where we have a few more variables and things to throw us off balance of, okay, continuing to work through that, building strength and building that trust in your prosthesis too.
Right. Okay. Oh, I know. I definitely missed it. It felt so good to be able to go up there and get wet and spend time in the water with my grandkids.
Good.
And, it was a wonderful feeling after missing it completely last year. And we don't put a pool up anymore because I can't get over the wall of it. So, the grandkids miss that, but I'm not going to put a pool up in my backyard and take out a lot of area for my dogs when the grandkids are only over here every other week to use it for an hour.
Right.
That didn't make sense to, put that kind of work onto my husband when he's already doing everything around the house.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, yes, Kitty. What? Do you want to say hi? Is that what you're doing?
Looks like we have a couple of people that joined us and Bill might have a question off the chat here.
Yeah, Mary Ann, she asked about how to keep her liner from slipping up and down for every step. You followed up. She said it's not from sweating. She has adjustable sockets, but can't tighten them super tight because of peripheral vascular problems.
Okay.
So that's just a follow on. Yeah,
Okay.
It still kind of sounds like it might be a sizing thing with the liners. But like I said, you might want to just kind of check with your prosthetist because if it is the wrong size liner, regardless of being able to tighten the socket, the liner might still want to move on your leg. So I would just follow up with him and see what he says.
Cool. Second one is Faith asked, can I shave my stumps? That she has horrible heat rash and asking for anything.
So generally, we don't recommend shaving your residual limb because you can get ingrown hairs and have other issues, especially being inside of a liner. Now it sounds like you're already kind of having some issues, which is unfortunate. I don't know exactly what your heat rash would be caused from, but I don't recommend shaving the hair off your residual limb. It's usually a no-no. Abby, I don't know if you and Cassie want to touch on that.
It comes down to personal preference. I know I have some people that do and don't have any issues. I have some people that do and then end up, like Brian had mentioned, getting kind of ingrown hair, stuff in the follicles that it does allow kind of a little bit more friction and irritation across the skin. Whereas sometimes having the hair there does help things just glide over and doesn't cause as much skin irritation. So if you do notice that like within a couple days after shaving that you are getting kind of like red bumps or like a rash across the limb, then it can cause like a lot of different irritation. I see Ashley added, what about getting it waxed? I don't know if anybody else has tried this. I can't say that I've had patients that have waxed their limbs and if that's caused any of the same issues. I don't know if anybody here wants to chime in if that's something that they've tried or somebody that they know has tried it.
I don't wax my legs, but I think the hair still grows back, right? So I would imagine that you could still kind of get the same issues from it, but
Yeah, it just depends.
I don't know actually. I've never had anybody ask about waxing it instead of shaving it. So
yeah, I would say if it's something that it bothers you, try it. If you start having skin issues, then it's something to, okay, maybe that's something that it's not worth doing. And so it's kind of a personal thing that if it's causing big issues, then you're getting kind of cysts or like ingrown hairs and it's causing a lot of skin kind of breakdown, irritation, then avoid it.
I would think the quality of your razor would matter. Like, I don't know, it just people don't talk about like how much they do and don't spend on their razors or how frequently they change them. Like there's a big difference between a razor that probably costs $1 and a razor that costs $5, but you wouldn't know that difference unless if you took the plunge and bought the more expensive razors, even though, and then maybe you don't want a razor that has too much stuff on it. I don't know, but I feel like that in general can cause ingrown hairs on any skin barrier. But yeah, Ashley and Lynn, you both look like you might have some chime in. So love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I'm good. Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, I've heard not to, since was practicing since 93, I've always heard about don't shave, don't do anything, especially, because don't forget a lot of us lose our limbs because of, diabetes, vascular issues. So you don't want to be taking a knife to that. So, and then I just for a second, I just want to go back to the liner question before, because also liners stretch out, but they're also in different shapes. So
That's
some
true.
are more like a cone and some are more uniform like this. So that, if your residual limb is changing shape, the liner may be different, a different fit than before as well. So I just had those two things. Thanks.
That's a great point, Lynn, actually. The liner profile can be important too. So, and we can't answer that because we can't see your limb or know what liner you have.
Right.
But follow up with your prosthetist because that's a very good point. There are different profiles of the liners and some fit different type limbs better. So just to follow up with your prosthetist.
Ashley had her hand up.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about the shaving thing. It just bothers me to no end, I guess, like, as I know you said, I don't know your name, sir, but you're talking about not shaving. Well, yeah, that's a dude thing. But
Right.
as a lady, I just feel disgusting. Like it just like irks my nerves so bad not to shave. But I do get like the ingrown hairs or the rash like anytime I shave, and that drives me nuts as well. And I just and my husband's never said anything. He doesn't, like, "Ooh, you need to shave that thing," or anything like that. It bothers me, I know, more than him, but it just drives me insane not to be able to do it. And I literally yesterday just bought a waxing kit, and I haven't done it yet because I'm nervous. But I wanted to see, because I thought about that, like, before all this happened to me, I would always wax my legs because you didn't have to worry about ingrown hairs or having to shave so often and things of that nature. So I thought, what the heck, I'm going to give it a go.
Right.
So I guess we'll see.
Well, if you try it,
give us some feedback.
I do know I've almost gotten myself smacked a couple times by some of my female patients when I comment that they have leg hair, because especially as a new amputee, when you start getting that revascularization to the tissue, hair growth is a very good sign. Like if you have hair growing on your residual limb, it means you've got great blood flow, that tissue is nice and healthy. So it's a good thing to have hair on your limb. I know everybody hates and yells at me when I say that, because I know we all hate having hairy legs. But it's something that is a good sign of having nice, healthy tissue.
I mean, as a culture, we should embrace hair more in general. Like, I don't know, our shame with hair is so sad because we all do it to ourselves and each other, but it is a really cool thing. Hair is a protective barrier. But with that being said, this is a support and empowerment group. So like, honestly, if anyone here has any advice for each other, that's the most important thing, because our opinions, that they're important, but like how you guys feel is more important.
And I do know, so Ron, I saw you kind of commented in the chat here too about getting your limb rubbed or massaged. Absolutely. Massaging that tissue, kind of early on too, working with desensitization of, okay, starting just kind of nice and light and getting used to kind of softening up some of that tissue, promoting good blood flow, getting used to the sensation. Right after your amputation, definitely continue kind of getting used to just massaging the limb a little bit. And then through everything, I mean, it's a lot of people, it helps just kind of loosen things up. Definitely a good thing to do. So yeah. And then Leah, I saw you joined us too, if you want to introduce yourself, if you have any questions.
Unmute. Hi, I'm Aaliyah. Hi.
Hi.
How are you? Hi. My mom sent me the text. Debbie Levinson sent me the text, and so I opened it. So, is this a support group, or what? Can I ask what?
Yep, it's a support group, and or we call it Ask Me Anything. So if you have any questions regarding your prosthesis or residual limb, or just any general questions, you feel free to ask them.
Are you guys prosthetists or?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I was just curious.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And Debbie, I see your hand is up. Did you have a question?
Well, it's a comment and reaching out. I'm a little afraid that I won't be able to walk. Sorry, I had 3 strokes. Okay, calm down. I'm afraid that I'm not strong enough or anything. Sorry.
Debbie, did you work with a prosthetist, a physical therapist before?
I have an appointment on the 22nd of September.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
I've walked with a walker, and people are pretty surprised that I don't have any kind of limp or anything, but I'm just afraid that I'm too heavy or I'm too weak or.
Yeah,
Does
there,
that-
don't, yeah, are you a below the knee amputee?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you did well before, so I think you're gonna do wonderful when you meet with your therapist. You know,
Yep,
yeah.
and it's not like you're already maybe getting around with a walker, Debbie, which is great. I mean, all we can do is progress from where we're at. So it's up to us to keep pushing ourselves. And if you have a good physical therapist, then they're gonna help keep pushing you. And it's good that, you know, like Lynn and Abby and Cassie and I have all said, you know, having that good relationship with your prosthetist to make sure that's fitting good, so that is not something that's holding you back, is really important. But just keep at it and make sure that, you know, your process or your physical therapist is pushing you, and you'll advance. You will, you know, we all have our own pace, but we all progress.
Okay. Do a lot of people give up? And not,
No.
not using that?
And we shouldn't, right? I mean, this is our life. You only get one of them. So if you get your prosthesis and you work with your therapist and you do everything that you can do to get back to the life that you want to live. That's our job.
The hardest challenge you're going to face is in your brain, and your brain will tell you how well you are or aren't doing. And you can every single day tell yourself, look for the tiny goals that you're achieving, you know, give yourself even a task, like make the bed today. And then, hey, if you made the bed, like you did the most important thing, and like give yourself little things to be proud of yourself for every single day, and never stop looking at your progress, because you can look at, you know, what you might consider to be a setback, or you can look at your progress, and all of that is going to be, you know, what you decide. And the most important thing is that you are proud of yourself. In whatever else people say, you know, I know it's not going to impact you like what you would say about yourself. So the most important challenge is in your brain.
Leah's my biggest cheerleader right now. She's I can do it. She lives on the second floor, so my task is to get up the stairs one day.
Good, that's a good goal.
Good advice with her.
But there's so much too. You're doing the right things, building that relationship with your prosthetist. You're starting physical therapy, putting in the time to rebuild that strength and to work through that. And a lot of the things, you'll hear us say this a lot, that what we found with a lot of our patients is that it takes about 2 years to optimize your function on your prosthesis. So in those 2 years, you're building kind of that trust, that relationship of going to, it takes that little bit of time to, okay, now you're not as focused on your environment and watching for every crack or stone or everything in your environment, but building the trust in your prosthesis that our brains are trying to protect us. They want to reduce the risk of a fall at every chance that we get. And so now you have something that you're trying to figure out where that limb is, making sure that when you put your weight down through that socket, it's going to hold you up, it's going to support you, you're not going to fall. And all of that takes time. It takes time to build the strength, and it takes time to kind of build the endurance to do all of this stuff. But the biggest factor is you putting in the work. If you're going to put in the work and you want to grow and continue to do these things, that is the biggest determining factor. So continue to advocate for yourself, show up to physical therapy and put in the work, and you'll get there.
Give myself permission up to 2 years to refine it.
So, and that's where we see like kind of the most exponential growth, that you see a lot of big like progress in those 2 years. That doesn't mean that you continue, like you don't improve after that. But when you're putting in the work, that it takes a good amount of time to just kind of build that trust and continue, not saying that it takes that long to walk, but to just kind of get used to it, where it's okay, I'm putting my leg on and getting up and going about your day, that it's not at the forefront of your mind with everything that you do.
Everyone thinks it takes, you know, like after a couple weeks, they should just be used to it and feeling good and everything should be normal. And then they start getting frustrated that, you know, why isn't it normal? What's wrong? I'm not strong enough. Why am I so weak? And, you know, if you view it more like a marathon instead of a sprint, then you realize, okay, I have to go a little bit slower because I'm retraining my entire body how to do this big thing again. And it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be in a couple weeks. It's not going to be in a couple months. It's going to take a while because even, you know, just being in a hospital bed for 2 days is really a lot on the body. So what happens is you're literally retraining even your brain how to communicate with your entire body system, just to do, you know, everyday functions. That it'd be frustrating. You're like, come on, but it takes time, and that's the good news.
Brianna, I just want to say that is excellent, because I met, actually, when I was working, I met with she was a personal trainer, all full of muscles, and she was training people, and she had an accident, and she ended up being in the hospital for, I think, 3 to 4 weeks, and she lost all of her muscles, and she was only in her 20s. So it's a big thing as we start getting older that, you know, we start losing muscle, especially sitting more often. So I think you're going to see a lot of improvement when you're working with your physical therapist and your prosthetist.
And I do want to say, so there is a little pitch for coming up in September. We do have step-up classes, which are amputee-based exercise classes that we do a Q&A portion, and then we have exercises, and we have a ton of them on our website too. But reaching out and finding a physical therapist that's worked with amputees and is going to push you, and that they're there to help you with your goal too, and not just say, oh, you're walking with a walker, you're getting around great, keep it up, but continuing to work with you and reach your goals and do what you want to do, and then finding other resources too. So that's one of the things that we see a lot of people kind of do their initial physical therapy, and that's it. But having that continuing relationship and going through that and can make a big, big difference. And then the other thing too, I know you mentioned a couple other issues that you were concerned about. There's research out there that shows, so a lot of people say, like, whatever the reason, if you lost your limb due to vascular complications or diabetes, those are 2 very common things. There's more recent data that shows that there's a lot of kind of comorbidities or other things that you have going on that do not affect your outcomes on a prosthesis. And those are like peripheral vascular disease, obesity, and there's a couple other, like anxiety, there's a couple big ones that do not predict your outcomes on a prosthesis. And so a lot of it comes down to, if you're going to put in the work, find a team to support you, find that group, find the people that are in your corner that are going to advocate for you and work with you to get to your goals, and just keep pushing. You got this.
Yeah, absolutely. And also on that note too, we have already had 4 different amputee exercise classes that have all been recorded. They're all free on YouTube. I just shared the one that we had in April in the chat box, but if you look up Bremer Prosthetics on YouTube, we have tons of exercises, even ones that are just a minute long. But the really cool thing about the 1 to 2 hour long support groups that are on there is that there's conversation too, which is really nice to listen to. And it's a good integration of like support group and exercises, and then support again. But it doesn't matter if you do or don't have a prosthesis. We try to make all these exercises really accessible, because over 80% of amputees have a form of vascular disease that caused their amputation. And so our number 1 goal is, how do we get people moving again so that they can begin to, you know, heal that vascular complication that's going on. And then Aaliyah, are you a congenital amputee as well then? Oh, you're muted. Oh.
Hi, okay, there you go. Hi, yes, I was born without legs. My left leg is above the knee, and then my right leg is just below the knee.
I know this sounds kind of weird, but I think it's really cool that you guys have each other, you know, to go through
Right?
that. Yeah, that's a blessing.
Who knew this would happen? So I'm just there to support her.
Yeah, I mean, what better resource for advice and love than you? That's so cool. I know it's not like cool, but I think it's cool.
No, I do too. Yeah, yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how life works.
Yeah. And what do you think? I mean, you know, hearing that your mom's nervous and stuff, like what?
Oh, it makes me. I mean, obviously, like I'm her daughter first and foremost, and I'm like, oh, like that makes me sad because I know she was always there for me, supporting anything I wanted to do and do this and do that and gymnastics and yada yada. So like she was always there to support me, and so I'm like, oh, like you can do it, like just being supportive of her.
Yeah, Debbie, don't limit yourself like how you didn't limit Aaliyah. You never let it be a barrier in Aaliyah's life. Same rules for you. Treat yourself no different.
Yeah, I've actually pulled up some of those thoughts that I used to have when I would take you out and teach you how to approach somebody who was staring or whatever. And so Aaliyah's got a good handle on her life and how she approaches people and stuff. So we did a good job together, honey.
You did. You and Dad did well.
Yeah. I saw a 600-pound episode. What is that show? And this guy was an amputee. He was below the knee, and he was walking at 600 pounds on his prosthesis. So that's, if he can do it, we can too. I can too. Yep.
Exactly.
Linda Cola join? You know, we talked about that.
Nope. Linda?
Not Lynn.
Lynn?
Oh, she's up.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
been on there.
Yep.
For me.
Oh.
Lita Lynn.
Yeah.
Anybody have any other questions?
I don't, I just thought, I was just actually typing in the chat. I have to go, but I wanted to say I enjoyed this meeting and thank you so much for giving amputees a voice. This is a great platform. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thanks so much for joining us.
Enjoyed having us.
Bye.
Bye. Well, we can start wrapping things up. If anyone doesn't have anything, you know, last words of encouragement or advice for each other, then.
I don't have a question, but I do want to say something to Miss Debbie. Honey, I know it's scary, it's overwhelming, but don't ever stop. Somebody said my term. I always say this, you got this. Because that's what somebody said to me and that resonated with me. No matter what, no matter how bad you feel, no matter how crappy your day has been, don't give up. No matter how bad you feel, go to physical therapy, even when you don't want to. If you make one tiny little step more than you made the day before, guess what, sister? That's progress. You went away from physical therapy doing better than you did the day before. And you know what? That's wonderful. Don't you stop, sunshine. The next time we see you, those tears better be happy tears. You got this, sister.
Oh, I cried anything. So yeah, I'll have happy tears too. Thank you for your encouragement.
You got it, honey.
Okay, well, and then one last comment too. On September 14th, we are having our next amputee meetup. It's going to be a mixture of step up, so with the exercises again too. But I think Brian, Cassie, and Abby, you guys are planning to host one of these once a month as well, right?
Yeah, we're still working on ironing out some of the details, but I think in October we'll be having one in Brighton as well. So just have to kind of stay tuned for the details on that. But yeah, we're trying to expand it and reach as many people as possible. So that is the plan. Do we have any other questions coming in on the chat or no?
Any, nothing until.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other ones before I guess we kind of button it up here? Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. It was a pleasure. And if you guys have any other questions, we will be hosting another one of these at some point. I don't, is it scheduled? Another one of these yet? Okay. Well, we will be doing another one at some point though. So just keep your eyes peeled for the invitation to that. And if you come up with any other questions, then you can ask them then.
Thank you all for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much. This was great.